If you retired today with $500,000, generic retirement math would tell you that you could safely spend about $20,000 a year. I know a lot of you are sitting there thinking you could not live off $20,000 a year, and for most people, that doesn't sound like nearly enough. But if you have a pension, that generic math is completely wrong. At first, this looks simple. You think your savings need to replace your entire working income, but the real issue is different. When you have a pension, your savings are not replacing your income. They are doing one specific job. And once you know what that job is, your whole retirement plan is going to change. Hi, I am Imran. Let's break it down using a real scenario. Think about a hypothetical 58-year-old named Michael. Michael is a civil engineer who has put 30 years into working for the state government, and he has a $50,000 pension waiting for him that will pay out for the rest of his life. He also has $500,000 saved up in a pre-tax retirement account. Michael wants to know if he actually has enough money to stop working at age 60 and actually be okay. Here is where most people get confused. Most retirement advice starts with the exact same question: how much money do you have saved? It is a fair question, but when you have a guaranteed pension, it might actually be the wrong first question to ask. Because a pension is already doing the heavy lifting, Michael does not have to hope the stock market cooperates just to receive his base income. So instead of hyper-focusing on his total savings, we need to look at what the pension actually covers and what job the remaining portfolio is being asked to do. Now, this part matters. Let's run the exact numbers. Michael's pension pays $50,000 a year, which translates to $4,167 every single month, guaranteed. For his retirement, Michael wants to spend $6,200 a month. That budget assumes his mortgage is paid off, he has no major debt, and he has some money built in for comfortable travel. When we look at those numbers, we can see a gap between what the pension covers and what Michael actually wants to spend every month. That gap is exactly $2,033 a month. That is the only job his $500,000 portfolio has to do. It is not replacing his entire working income. It is strictly a gap filler. This reframe changes everything about how you evaluate if $500,000 is enough to retire on. So, is it enough? There's a simple benchmark you have probably heard of that most financial planners use, called the 4% rule. The idea is that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year in retirement without running out of money over a 30-year period. 4% of his $500,000 is $20,000 a year, which comes out to $1,667 a month. But remember, Michael needs $2,033 a month from his portfolio to live his ideal lifestyle. That leaves a monthly shortfall of $366. This puts his plan on a knife's edge. It is not a complete disaster, but going purely off the 4% rule, it is not going to be a very comfortable living situation. And this is the mistake many people make. They ignore the biggest danger in retirement, which is not necessarily running out of money slowly over 30 years. The real danger is what happens in the first 2 or 3 years. Two retirees with identical wealth can have entirely different financial outcomes, depending on the state of the economy when they start retirement. If the stock market drops in year 1 of retirement, and Michael is pulling his living expenses out of a shrinking portfolio, he is forced to sell shares at a discount. Those shares never come back. His portfolio takes a permanent hit that it may never recover from, which is a massive threat known as sequence of returns risk. So how does he combat this? The honest answer to whether he can retire perfectly on day 1 at age 60 is probably no. But retirement planning is not a simple binary of yes or no. What he can do is go beyond the rigid 4% rule and become a little dynamic. There are 3 powerful dials you can turn, and moving any one of them changes the financial picture dramatically. Think about it this way. The first dial is spending. Michael's plan is tight at $6,200 a month. But what if he drops that spending target to $5,400 a month for the first few years? That is $800 less per month, which might just mean skipping a car upgrade. If he does that, the portfolio gap disappears on day 1, and he is completely safe from violating his withdrawal limits. Plus, Research shows that real retirement spending often follows a retirement spending smile, where retirees naturally decrease their spending by about 1% a year as they age, before it rises slightly much later in life. Constant level spending is actually not realistic for most retirees anyway. The second dial is income. Michael does not have to go from working full-time to absolute zero overnight. What if he picks up some part-time or consulting work for his first 2 years of retirement? If that brings in just $1,500 a month, his portfolio is barely touched. He's working a low-stress job specifically to protect his $500,000 portfolio from a bad first year in the stock market. 2 years of that, and he's in an incredibly secure position. The third dial is timing. Michael does not have to retire the exact day he turns 60. What if he works just one more year to age 61? That is one extra year of putting contributions into his retirement accounts, plus one more year where the portfolio is allowed to grow instead of being drawn down. That one minor delay changes the starting point for his next 30 years in a way that is incredibly powerful. Then, there is the massive advantage of Social Security. Many people without a pension feel pressured to claim Social Security as early as possible at age 62 because they need the money to survive. But a pension changes this decision entirely because Michael has over $4,000 a month coming in from his pension. He has the flexibility to delay his Social Security. If he takes it early at 62, his benefit is permanently reduced to about $1,540 a month. But if he waits until age 70, his monthly check could grow to $2,728. If Michael is married, this Social Security strategy is even more crucial because of the widow's penalty. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two Social Security benefits, but the household loses the smaller check and shifts into a single filer tax bracket. Delaying benefits to age 70 locks in a massive, inflation-adjusted income stream that serves as ultimate longevity insurance for a surviving spouse. Let's look at what happens at age 70. His pension pays $4,167, and his maximized Social Security pays $2,728. Combined, that is nearly $6,900 a month in guaranteed income. That completely exceeds his target spending goal. Once he hits 70, his portfolio withdrawals slow down drastically, or stop entirely. The plan that looked far too tight at age 60 is now fully funded and incredibly robust at age 70. Delaying Social Security also creates a highly valuable tax planning window. For retirees with both a pension and a sizable portfolio, taxes are often the biggest consideration. A pension creates a steady stream of taxable income, meaning Social Security benefits often become up to 85% taxable. By relying temporarily on investment withdrawals before age 70, you might enjoy a few years in a significantly lower tax bracket. During that time, you can do strategic Roth conversions, moving money from pre-tax accounts into tax-free accounts at a discount. This helps protect you and your future heirs from massive required minimum distribution tax bills down the road. The key lesson is this: you do not need multiple millions of dollars to retire comfortably if you have a pension and a smart strategy. A $500,000 portfolio on its own might seem small to some, but pairing it with guaranteed income completely changes the math. As long as you are willing to adjust your dials, whether it is dialing back early spending, working a fun part-time job, or optimizing your Social Security, you can turn a fragile plan into a deeply secure retirement. Do not let generic retirement math scare you out of the financial freedom you have earned.